y'all doing? Great. I want to thank you all for coming out this evening, especially with the rain. We want to keep our fingers crossed that it holds off until we finish. I want to welcome our audience members who are physically here and those viewing on ETV to the Council PTA School Board Candidate Forum. If you will let me just have a few minutes to talk to you about geese tonight. An interesting fact about geese is each bird flaps its wings and creates uplift for the bird following. By following a V formation, the whole flock adds 71% greater flight range than if one bird flew alone. So the lesson I want us to remember from geese is people who share a common direction and sense of community can get where they are going quicker and easier because they are traveling in the strength of one another. As we listen tonight, let's remember our purpose here, and that is to gather inside and people on our goals to join the mutually supportive alliance of Huntsville City Schools to help young futures take flight. Again, welcome. I would like to recognize the special guests who are here. We have Dr. Barbara Cooper, Superintendent of Huntsville City Schools. I'm sorry, Assistant Superintendent. We also have Mr. Tom Bernie, Dr. Jim Robinson, and all representatives of Huntsville City Schools who would like to recognize you. I'd also like to recognize the representatives of Alabama and Huntsville PTAs. None of this would be possible without partnership, so I would like to give a humongous thank you to Huntsville City Schools Principal Mark Mitchell for the use of this auditorium. I also want to give Keith Ward and his ETV crew a thank you for the audio-visual support. And of course, last but not least, our moderators for the evening. We have Liz Hurley with WAFF 48, John Malone of Light 96.9, and Chandler Stevens of Huntsville Times. Okay, now the people in the hot seat, I'd like to thank our candidates from District 2, Pat Buchanan and Beth Wilder. From District 3, Ellen Music and Elisa Farrell, Anson Knowles, Kathy Brooker, and Pat Sanders, and District 4, Kimberly Battle and Walker McGinnis. Our moderators will take turn asking questions tonight. Some of tonight's questions have been submitted by our members and some by our moderators. The questions have been edited for the length, clarity, and to avoid repetition. All the candidates will answer each question and will take turns being the first to respond. The moderator will specify the amount of time the candidate has to respond to each question. Candidates will respond first in alphabetical order and continue to the left of the candidate until all candidates have responded. We appreciate your strict compliance with our time constraints this evening. After candidates have responded to all questions, they will each have 90 seconds for closing remarks. The candidates have participated in a drawing to determine who will begin this last round. We are asking strict adherence to these guidelines, and all things in this forum will be done decent and in order. And on housekeeping, I just again want to thank all of our audience members for coming out this evening and asking your cooperation to keep the atmosphere courteous and professional. At this time, we ask that you please silence or turn off your electronic devices. And so that we can make the most time, we have this evening to inform voters on where the candidates stand on the important issues facing our system. We would ask that the audience members to refrain from clapping, booing, or causing any other disruptions during the candidate's response. And this is translation from a mom who has 5 children. This is act like you have some home training. We're going to be courteous, we're going to be kind, and we're going to be professional. Your cooperation with these housekeeping rules will ensure that the forum is useful in providing information to voters this evening. So at this time, I would like to turn it over to Liz Hurley for our first question of the evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm also the official bell ringer over here, so please be listening to that. It's a pleasure to be with you all tonight, and thank you all for joining us to answer some very important questions. Our first candidate to be on the hot seat is going to be Richard Buchanan. Each of you will answer following that. Our first question is 90 seconds. You have 90 seconds to respond. It's a bit of an icebreaker. It's a softball, if you will, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you, and why do you want to be a member of the Board of Education for the City of Huntsville? Mr. Buchanan.
My name is Richard Buchanan, and I'm a native of Huntsville, and I graduated from Huntsville City Schools. I am an architect, practicing architect here in town, and have been a partner at Buchanan Architects for the past 18 years. My wife is Michelle's a teacher at Green School for young son who attends Huntsville High School. My wife and I both have always taken the education of our children very seriously, and we have always put a lot of time and held it to be very important in our family. So that has a lot to do with why I think as far as being an architect, in our training, I have always been able to we develop vision and collaborate with a lot of other engineers in order to meet that vision. And I would like to take some of the skills that I have as an architect and bring this to the table.
Very good.
Ms. Wilder.
Hi, I'm Beth Wilder. Over the past few years, I've become increasingly involved with education-related matters. I've been a substitute teacher in Huntsville City Schools. I've been a student mentor, parent of a 9-year-old in Huntsville City Schools. And I just have always wanted to fill a need when I see it. I have flexibility schedule because I've been a substitute teacher. And so when there was a need at school for development of an after-school retreat program, I took that on and developed and put in that program, and I'm still supporting that program. This will be my 4th year. And that provided students opportunity for enrichment after school, things that aren't offered in the regular curriculum, such as foreign language, music, art, and chess club. And I've also made it my job to be the person that knows what's going on as best as I could. I attended the school board meetings, I attended education-related activities, because parents talk, and I wanted to be the source of the correct information. And in doing all of that, it led me to realize there are great 5 seats up, and that since I've been doing a lot of the things that are required to be part of a board member, that I would serve well in that capacity.
Mrs. Farrell.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms.
Thank you, and my apologies to Thank you. My apologies to people that have heard this before, but I couldn't think of a better way to do this. I want to say that my resume is me, and if you just take a look at me, you'll see what I stand for. First of all, you look at me, you see that I am old, and I put old is not so bad because I equate that to experience. And experience actually helps you to understand how things work and how things work out. And I'm also a little bit astute in that for so many years I have been bent over listening to children and talking with them, trying to understand them. Your children, not mine. I've been talking to children and focusing on them. I also have a ring here. It's a teacher ring. And anybody that's crazy enough to wear a teacher ring, know that they're focused in on teaching and on teachers. And I would like to be the liaison between our schools down south and the central office. I would like to represent the teachers to them, take up for them. I also have comfortable shoes, so I'll be able to visit the school. And I also dressed up today in my suit. It's like being a principal again. I would really like to serve the school system that I have loved and served for so many years. I'd like to be back working with them again and helping them in a different capacity. It's almost like a culmination of a career, so that's where I'm standing now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brewster. Ms. Farrell.
My name is Elisa Farrell. I've lived in Huntsville for about 10 years. My husband came here when he was 6 months old and lived here for most of his life, and we moved back here so we could get our kids in the schools here in Huntsville. I started my professional career at World Vision. I worked in the public relations office in California, and then moved into the insurance industry and investigated general liability claims and malpractice claims. And after doing that for a while, I decided the nonprofit world was really where I wanted to be. I worked in churches, and I worked at the Community Foundation on a contract basis here in Huntsville. I have 5 children, 2 of them are in college, 2 of them are a few weeks into their freshman year in high school, and 1 is in middle school. My children have been actively engaged in advanced classes and AP classes as well as finance classes. And it has been a blessing to have them in these schools here. My husband is a 19 professional, and I played football here for Huntsville High and also for Grissom High when I was playing college. And we're just happy to be here in Huntsville. I've served on the PTA here in the city and at Grissom High School, and have served on about a dozen different committees to include summer reading, policy committees, building committees, program committees, and the like, and have spent my time advocating for Huntsville City Schools. Thank you.
Mr. Knowles.
Hi there. I am a fifth generation resident of this area. My father worked on the Redstone Arsenal. My grandfather worked on the Redstone Arsenal. My great grandfather worked at Dallas Mill, and they were brought here by their parents. The reason I'm running has to do with the fact that professionally I'm a tax accountant, and using my tax accounting expertise, I went through and looked at the campaign finance records of the locally elected officials, and also looked at the policy positions of those officials, and I began to draw a correlation between the decisions made by our officials and those people who donated heavily to them. And I learned that there's not really someone to represent the citizens of South Huntsville, and that is sorely needed in South Huntsville. Not only on the school board, but on the city council. I'm a father of 3 children, a former PTA board member at Farmville Elementary School. I have worked as a taxpayer and parental rights advocate for about a year, and I'm an unapologetic fiscal and social conservative. I really want someone to be on the school board that has a spine and is able to stand up to one entity when it's appropriate and apply him when it's appropriate, because I think that he has made some good decisions for the city. Thank you.
Ms. Rooker.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. I come from a family of educators. I have a twin sister with 22 years in education. My mother was a 30-year children's librarian, and my grandmother was a teacher. So I come to education directly. I've been married 15 years. My husband is a Huntsville native. He's a West Point grad and an engineer here in Huntsville. I have 3 boys. They are 11, 10, and 2. And they are in the school system and they're thriving. I'm a Georgia Tech grad, random grad from Georgia Tech, and I also have an MBA from the University of Texas. I worked 15 years in IT. After we moved to Huntsville, my husband asked me to stay home with our kids, and that was foreign to me. So shortly after that, I started with Montessori School in Huntsville on their board. I spent 5 years on the board with their chairman and vice chairman. We helped turn the school around. It was near bankrupt. We set policy. We made sure the academics were strong. We rebranded the school, and by the end of the 5 years, we had a waiting list of students. The reason I've also been on the PTA for 4 years, and I started 5 academic programs through that. In every position that I have, I try to move things forward. The reason why I'm running is because I think we get one chance educating our children, and we have got to get it right. With 3 seats up for grabs, I take this responsibility extremely seriously, and I'll represent you well. Thank you.
Mr. Sanders.
Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Pat Sanders. And like other people mentioned, I've been in Huntsville all my life. I am a product of the Huntsville City School System. Also at Huntsville Middle School, Huntsville High School. Same as my mother. So I am also a fifth generation. My great-grandfather was the sheriff of Madison County, and my uncle that was in public office here, and my cousin also in public office. We've served this community many years, and I love being in Huntsville. I have children that are also in the city school system. They've been to their tour at New Century and one's at Grissom High School. I have a son who's got dyslexia, so I've seen the aspect of school when it comes to working with kids with IEPs. I have a daughter that's been on the National Honor Society in middle school, so I see where we work with kids that have the other abilities to go to the advanced classes. I've seen both sides of it. I feel like I can bring that.
suspended partially. After the board SDK, he changed the policy to disallow the airing of public comments on ETV. He only allows a portion of the broadcast to be what the school board message is. I think public comment needs to be given equal respect to be considered a full board meeting. And I would expand the amount of public comment allowed during public school board meetings. Once on the school board, I'll hold bi-monthly meetings in my district and invite everyone, not just PTA officers, PTA members of the meetings. Everyone's opinion matters. And I think that covers a lot of it. There's more. Thank you.
And Kathy Berger.
Thank you. So my twin sister already mentioned her once, but she was in town this weekend. She lives in Georgia, and she had not had time to go research the candidates. And she went out and could not. She was just flabbergasted at the amount of media coverage and the amount of written and verbal communications that these candidates have provided to the community. It's been a challenge in a lot of ways, but it's been exciting too to share our ideas. I too have been on email, Facebook, social media has been a big part of the campaign. I think we need to stay relevant to our parents, and I think social media is a big part of that. I've talked with parents and teachers, and I did a lot of listening too. And sometimes people just want to tell you what they're upset about, and you just need to nod your head and say, yeah, I understand. And that makes people feel like they're valued. As far as going forward in the future, parents are my peers. My kids play sports. I'm out in the community all the time. I feel like I'm a very relatable person. I'm very approachable, and I will use that to my advantage to talk to parents and to teachers and be a part of the community. I'm still going to run a math team, so I will be in the schools, and a lot of times at competitions, I like to interact with multiple schools and all that. And I would encourage our school board to also be in the school doing something. As far as the public comments, I agree. I would like to see those televised. I always found those to be some of the most fascinating parts of the school board meeting as a public person. And I would also want to make sure that we don't try to shape the message too much as a school board, that we own where we are.
Thank you, and Pat Sanders.
Thank you. Communications is my platform. This is why I got into this race. Like everybody else, has been through emails, Facebook, but I'm a face-to-face person. I have talked to many teachers, many people. I'm not on doors. And originally I got to talk to the teachers, and it's like they work in a hostile work environment. Stuff like things need to be changed. I've talked to multiple families. I've knocked on doors. One of them is a neighbor in my neighborhood. He's a professional, and his comment to me was, Pat, I've got issues because I got concerns with both ends. I live in South Huntsville, District 3. I teach at A&M. And I've always wondered, we talk about Huntsville City Schools, and Huntsville City is a great place to live, but it seems like we segregate ourselves out into different districts. I don't understand why we can't have joint district meetings. I think it would be important to realize that we are one city. When companies come to Huntsville, look at Huntsville, they don't look and say, oh, look how District 3 is doing, and how District 2, how the Huntsville City Schools are doing. So we need to focus on the school system itself, communication between all the districts, and how we're providing education for our children. Like I said, my sons go to New Century High School, which is in the north end of town. My daughter goes to Christmas on the south end of town. I have a very vested interest on both sides of town. So going forward, I'd love to be able to see, again, I think the meeting with PTAs, going to the PTA meetings, but I think it's imperative to be in the schools. We have to talk to the principals, talk to the parents, kind of what the concerns are for their children. That's what I feel is important to us. That's how I do it.
And now on to District 4, Kimberly Bell.
Thank you. One of the main things that I did before I even announced that I was running, I had my idea of what I thought we should be getting from our next school board member. But I went around, I had focus groups, I asked parents, I asked teachers, I even contacted a few high school students to get their perspective on what they would like to see in Huntsville City Schools. That's how communication starts. It starts by listening to others and understanding what they expect to see from their board members. So before I even came up with my palm card, that's how I began communicating with my district. Additionally, after we all interviewed with political action committees, I opened it up to my district leaders to interview me. I sent an email out to neighborhood association leaders, parent-teacher association leaders, general community leaders, and I asked them to come and ask me any questions that they had, give me their ideas and understand where I was coming from and what they would expect from me from the area of communication. In addition to that, if I'm on the board, I think one of the main things that I would advocate for is a long-range plan. Part of the reason why there's such confusion now is because the public wasn't included in this major change that we're going through. And I think we have to have a long-range plan so that when we continue moving we improve communications because people know it's already supposed to happen. It's harder to communicate after the fact. You've got to communicate up front and early. Lastly, like Pat, I think we haven't effectively used our town hall meetings. We typically have them when there's a problem, but we can have them when we want to get some general information out or just take feedback from the community and utilize that to support communications. Thank you.
I think communication is absolutely critical, and you have to have the time to put in to do it. You can't just say you're going to have a focus meeting and 2 people show up, that sort of thing, and get any kind of viable feedback that you can use. I think you have to be multifaceted in your communication effort. You've got to be able to handle social media and control it. I don't want to spend all my day on the computer going back and forth on Facebook with people. I'm like that. I think Pat brought up a good point. Face to face is best. And you, I look at the position of the board member as a servant. It has no political parties assigned to it. All I care about are kids and the parents of kids and what they feel they need, what they feel like will help. I learned a long time ago to listen to other people, and you might learn something. I always learn when I talk to people. But I would expect a lot of one-on-one communications. I also want to bring people together, town-type meetings in the district, and even with the council, and work all those things. Thank you.
Thank you. And District 2 is next. Richard Buchanan.
Thank you, school board members. The most important thing that we need to be doing is improving communication. Improving communication between school board members and the teachers, and school board members and the community. And I think all of us have, like we've heard, been getting out with the community and teachers and trying to find out some of the things from their standpoint that maybe not quite right with the system and the way we're making decisions. To me, improved communication with teachers is probably one of the more important things I think that I would like to see happen. We send our kids every day to with our teachers, and we expect our teachers to show dignity and respect to our students. And I think from the school board member standpoint, we need to make sure that we top down, along with our superintendent, are showing our teachers the same respect and dignity that we expect to show our kids. I think also we need to specifically get feedback from, since our teachers are in the trenches with the kids every day and know the obstacles that we're facing in our education process, we need to get feedback, and maybe possibly get to the point where we need to get feedback anonymously. Some of the things I've heard is a little bit of fear of retribution, so I think there's got to be a way for our teachers to communicate to the board members, and so we can know what is going on in our school system.
And Wilder.
During the campaign, I have communicated to door by door, and once I can tell a little bit about myself, I always ask them if they have any questions to get feedback. I also have a Facebook page, a Twitter account, I email, I have a website. People have messaged me through those different avenues, and I've responded. I've also, when I've been out canvassing neighborhoods with friends, try to circle back with people wanting to speak with me directly. I went back sometimes a week later, and I missed a few of them because they weren't home. But one man was very surprised to see me. He said, I sent this message, and I thought, I'm never going to hear from her. And here you are sitting in my garage. And I said, well, it's important to come back and let you know that what you have to say is important. And I was just in the area anyways. There were other people I was going to visit. I've also met with principals. There were a couple schools I have not been in yet in District 2, so I went ahead and went in that to understand what their needs are. Those schools I haven't been to, and I've also been to civic association meetings. What I'd like to do once I'm a board member is to have a rotating meetings modeling what Jenny Robinson has done. each month having a meeting at a different school within District 2, and also meeting with civic association groups, because I do believe communication is important. That's how I've been serving as a parent, is being that source of information.
Thank you. We're going to move on to District 4. Ms. Ballard, this question is on one of the hotter topics this year, the desegregation issue. The system is at its old point. No one can predict with certainty what will come out of mediation talks over any of the system's desegregation work. But there will be agreements, and the board will have to execute those agreements. Those include decisions on rezoning and much more. Board members have already said that not everyone will be happy. You would take office in October if elected. Mediation likely ends in December. Your initial job will be to implement difficult and likely divisive plans you have no role in developing. Why do you want this job?
I think like many of the people
on the panel, we want this job because we believe we can make a difference. We could have all shrieked and stepped back with the sign of the challenges that was going on in the court system, but we all decided to step up, and I think that's important for everyone to know. I don't think anybody here thought that this would be easy or that we would be walking into a capable job. I think we're all into the task. Specific to the desegregation order, I think one of the mistakes we've made is by telling people that someone will lose in this battle. I think we should have approached this by discussing and showing every community how there could be a benefit if we effectively develop a transition plan to show how it will change their community, how it will improve their community, what will it do for the students, how will it help the school system as a whole. I think somehow we decided that change automatically meant that someone was going to lose in this deal. Now there are changes that are going to impact some communities more than others, and some people may take that negatively, but as a school board member, it would be my responsibility to ensure that we transition in a way that we help our communities understand that they do benefit from gaining unitary status, from having a diverse school system, and also just from being supportive of our schools from a desegregation perspective. I think we need to realize that we will win if we get through this, not that we're losing something.
Mr. McGinnis.
Well, it's a hot topic, that's for sure. But it's a hot topic that we can't handle. None of us in this room have any influence on that decision being made right now. The judge has ordered that the parties, which are lawyers, mediate a plan. But the good thing about that is that she's ordered them to come to a step-by-step approach for us to get unitary status. That is a bright light, and we need to see it that way. That whatever comes from this decision, there'll be a plan to get there. Now keep in mind, we're only talking one of 8 items. Student science is a big issue. Once we get through that, transportation, teacher assignments, and all that will follow like dominoes. But we have to get through this part. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I've been in this system 36 years, and this is the first time we've seen it. Now, how we get there, I don't think we ought to sit back and wait and twiddle our thumbs. I think we need to do things. I have, and start lining up the mechanics for the transition. We don't know what exactly it's going to be, but we pretty much got a pretty good idea what the basic plan would be. And we can go ahead and start setting up some things to take effect, start talking and sort of thing, get the transition going. Thank you.
Moving on to District 2, Mr. Buchanan.
I think the most important thing that we can do, since we didn't play a big part in determining how we were necessarily getting here, I think we've got to learn from the situation. I think Kimberly brought it early on. We need to get out front of a lot of these issues and talk to the community and let them know what's coming down the pike, and not necessarily tell the community that this is the place to be. I think it's a big issue as this has been for our city. I think it's much more than the school system. I think a lot of our city leaders have got involved a little bit more and make sure that everyone should make sure the meeting goes ahead and make sure everybody is on board. Ms. Walker.
Why do I wanted this job? Because I'm inspired. I'm inspired by this city. I lived here for 9 years, never thought of Gainesville, Florida. And my husband put me back to Gainesville and I said, no, this is a great town. This school system is on its way to greatness. And I want to be a part of that. And no matter what anything that we're handed, you move forward. We unify, we gather, communicate as best we can. And we have to unify and just move forward, stay student focused. It doesn't change the fact that we still have to provide quality education for all our students. That is the goal. So that's what I think about. It doesn't really matter what the zoning ends up being. We just have to go out and communicate that this is what we have to deal with, and let's look at what we need to do. It doesn't change our plan to provide that high quality education at all schools, for all students, and move on toward gaining tier status.
District 3, Dr. Bishop.
Yes, thank you. I guess I wanted to answer the first question, why I would be inspired to want to get this job again, is because I really do too also love Huntsville and the Huntsville City Schools. It's been a real pleasure to be associated with them. And then I would like to give kudos to Dr. Gordinsky and the board for going ahead and tackling this 40-year-old court order. I mean, it's ridiculous for us to still be under that. And whatever happens when the mediation ends, what we have to do now is not make a mistake of just throwing that out on people and making them accept it and not having preparation, plans for it, understanding, keeping a positive look, because there will be changes in our lives. Everybody's going to have to compromise. But I think what we need to do is show how and why the lines are changing and make the most of it. And then, when we're out from unitary status, I really want to focus on what's going on right now, is the establishment of excellent quality neighborhood schools, so that we got a very good school over here and a very good school over here, and the neighborhood is proud of it, and it's the focus and the light of the neighborhood, and it's supported by the people there. That's happening. I see online, I read today about West Lawn STEM program, and they're going to have an evening dinner, inviting parents, feeding them, and explaining to them the STEM program and what's going to happen there. There's so many great things happening in the schools that all need to be equal and challenging for all the neighborhoods.
Lisa Farrell.
The reason why I want to be on the school board is because public education matters. It's foundational to our community, and we have to get it right. In order for our community to grow, our schools have to be strong. In order for our students to achieve great things, our schools have to be strong. Public education is the foundation of what happens in this community, and we have to get it right. Regardless of any turmoil, regardless of any emotion, regardless of any opinion about zoning or about getting out from under the desegregation order, our children and our community are dependent on us to do this correctly. So as we're waiting to hear for the deseg order, ready to hear what's coming out of mediation, none of us knows what's going to happen. And the unknown is not a fun thing. We've been stuck in the same position for over 40 years, and we've rested in place. We haven't been able to make the micro adjustments that were needed to keep the school like Lincoln Elementary open, because we had to always get federal approval for everything we did. So it's time that we regain control, and we do it in such a way that we promote student excellence in every school, in every district. Because if the DOJ and the Huntsville City Schools focuses on one thing, and that is helping students achieve everything that they are capable of achieving, then regardless of where the zone lines are, we will have a successful school system, and everyone will be successful in every district.
I want this job because I believe that as a tax accountant, I have the experience to advocate for the rights of the taxpayers in South Huntsville who have purchased homes specifically because they wanted their children to go to a specific school. And I don't think that any judge or the Department of Justice should be able to come to our local school system, take away our local decision-making authority, and tell parents and property owners, your rights don't matter. And I think that that's a crying shame, and the mediation that we're under right now with the Department of Justice desegregation order. We're not even really working toward getting out from under it yet. We're still operating within that same desegregation order. I think that other options, other avenues to get out from under the desegregation order must be explored. And there are other options other than disrespecting the property rights of every individual who purchased a home, say, in Grissom School District that might have to go to, I don't know, the new Jefferson High School. You know, we don't know what the mediation is going to result in. They might require two-way busing where parents have to send their children to the other side of the city to set some racial quota that the Department of Justice thinks is equitable. And I think that local decisions should be made by our locally elected officials and not a federal judge. Thank you.
Captain Brooker.
One of my last job. I think a true sign of character is when you're willing to stand up when it's unpopular. And through this deseg process, I have stood up many times. And I was unpopular, and it's okay, because I thought it was the right thing to do for our kids, for our schools, for our community. How I have helped moving forward is I'm very skilled at synthesizing complex data. These rezone lines, this deseg, this unitary process is complex, extremely complex. What I bring to the table is being able to bring all of that and make sense of it for the community, because the community has to make sense of it in order to buy into it. It's not going to be easy to rezone after this. I've heard, well, we'll just get it done and then we'll fix it after the fact. The DOJ's been watching us for a long time. We have to get it right this time. We really do. I'm going to make a plea to those that are involved in the mediation process to please protect the integrity of the process. Through the last go-around, I thought there was much of an issue with the plan as it was with how the plan was developed. So that is my plea to please protect integrity. Please make the right decisions for kids first, for our schools, and for our communities. Thank you.
And Pat Sanders.
I got into this race with children. Like I said, I grew up in Huntsville City Schools, and to me that is, the imperative that I love Huntsville City. I was at Lost Elementary School when the desegregation came around, so I saw the desegregation happen. I went through school from Mountain, from Huntsville Middle School and Huntsville High School. At that point in time, when I was in Huntsville High, I can remember that there was Randolph, there was Mountain, there was Madison Academy, and then there was the Holy Spirit Catholic Church, which was in high school. So at that time, I remember 3 private schools. Today, we have a lot of private schools. We have a lot of homeschools. I've talked to parents now. It seems like people are fleeing from the Huntsville City schools. But like, if we don't get this right, this desegregation coming years at us, that we're going to lose the benefit we have in Huntsville as a great public school system. It's going to turn into more of a private or homeschool like Montgomery. Montgomery does not have a very good school system that is known. So it's very important to me that we get this right, like you said. We can't control what we want to at this point in time. We're doing mediation, but we can't control it. It's our job when it comes down to communicate again to the people and how we can do it. But we also can't control where people live. We've talked about that. What we got to focus on is making sure every school is adequate, is actually to achieve the level of education for every single child. So no matter where you live in the Huntsville City Schools, you have a good school to provide for. Like I said, you can't control where people move to.
Thank you. Candidates, you have 30 seconds to respond to this question. We begin with Beth Wilder in District 2. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing this school system?
I would say obtaining unitary status. It's a long time coming. It's become very complicated because it's 51 years old. And there are several factors that we need to address in how we move forward with that. And we already are moving forward with this, addressing the screening factors. But once we gain, that's important so we can gain local control, we can control our own destiny.
Dr. Bruce.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what I say about this too. I think the greatest challenge is communication from the teachers up to, or maybe looking at the teachers. For 3 years, it's been a kind of a top-down policy because there were things that needed to be done and it needed to be done in that way. But now it's time for the teachers to be looked at and given some staff development, given some autonomy in the classroom. So communication up.
Ms. Farrell.
I think our greatest challenge right now is that we have 7 schools on the failing school list, and it's not reflective of the excellence that's happening in those schools. Some of those schools are on the list simply because they accepted a school improvement grant 5, 10 years ago so that they could make their school an even better place. Some of them are going to be on the list for a long time because there's no telling how they got on the list in the first place or how they're going to get off. So it's time to fix that situation and let the name of the school be reflective of all the hard work and the excellence that's happening there.
Mr. Jones.
Parents' rights are, I guess, not being respected by the school system because the school system has implemented policies designed to skirt around the Alabama Accountability Act school choice portion, which allows parents to remove their children from the 11 original family schools to now the 7 family schools. And the only reason why we have 7 family schools is because Dr. Wodinski decided to change the names of the schools or close schools to get around the law, and that needs to change.
Ms. Roper.
I think the biggest challenge right now is the climate. I'll be honest with you, not one person has approached me through this campaign and say that they are ecstatic about what's happening in the school district. And I think a lot of that comes down to making sure that our teachers are valued, making sure that our parents feel like they are welcome at the table and they're stakeholders in this process, and that we have honest and transparent communications always. And once we get parents, teachers, and students all working in sync, beautiful things can happen for our district.
Mr. Sanders.
I agree. I think the biggest challenge, is making sure that the teachers and the faculty feel like they're part of the system. I was told that the teacher, the schools is where our teachers work, it's where our kids learn. So if teachers like they're in a hostile work environment, and our kids are trying to learn in a hostile learning environment, I think that's essential that we make the kids feel comfortable and safe in their schools, and then we work our way from there. I think unitary status is essential because we get it back to us with our own decisions, but we have to take care of the kids first. That's where education is about.
Ms. Bell.
I think the greatest challenge is and will always be ensuring that every child graduates with the capability to go to college and get a job when we graduate. You do that by ensuring that teachers are prepared. They're on the front lines of education. The knowledge transfer between educators and the student is most important. You do that additionally by getting the community involved, fostering collective involvement to collaboratively support the social-economic needs of the school system, because the teachers in the school can't do it all by themselves. But most importantly, we just have to stay focused on the student and stay focused on making sure that we're providing a quality education, whether they're in Cove, Kentucky, Butler, or Huntsville High. They have to get the same skills. Thank you.
Mr. McGinnis.
I think the biggest challenge for the school system is to get some unitary status. Then we can start looking at local schools. We can beef up the schools. And the other issue that I see that is extremely important is the treatment of employees, and I think that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Mr. Buchanan.
See, I think our biggest challenge for our school system is reaching at-risk students. As long as I've been in Huntsville, we've had that issue, and I think that is something that gets my passion for being on the school board. And from what I would like to see, we need to start changing the mindset of our students that are at risk and give them hope. And I think we can do that by our teachers that are in these classrooms with the at-risk students. The teachers having autonomy in the classroom, be able to help problem solve and teach these kids problem solving skills, teach them to be leaders, teach them habits and principles.
We need to finish up, so we need to move on. Sorry about that. We've heard a lot of different challenges here. There seem to be a couple of recurring themes, but a pretty diverse set of answers. So now you get to tell us, what do you see as the board's role in addressing those challenges? This also a 30-second response, and we will start with Elisa Farrell in District 3.
The board is there to set policy, and just about everybody knows that you can't vote on anything unless the superintendent brings it to you, but the superintendent can't act on anything unless it's voted by the board. The board and superintendent need to work as a team together to make sure that we do everything we can to support student success in our schools. So the board can identify problems, bring them to the superintendent, who in turn acts on those and brings them to the board for vote.
Mr. Holmes.
Ms. Farrow is correct. The board's main role is to set policy, but the board's main role is also to have an open meeting in front of the public and allow public discourse. And I think the best way to address challenges is to actually have board meetings which involve meeting instead of shaking your head up and down. Yes, because that's generally what it is now. There's a lot of agreement on the board and not a lot of meeting in public. Mr. Roper.
Yes, I mean, ultimately, the board role is to support the superintendent, and I think one way that we can help keep things on track is by setting the appropriate objectives and the appropriate measures for those objectives. Obviously, he's a very much strong leader, and he's going to deliver on that. So if those are not set properly, then that can be an issue. Also, I think as a board, we need to challenge the decisions sometimes. We need to make sure that these are the best decisions for our kids. And once we do that, I think things will move a lot smoother for our district.
Mr. Sanders.
I use the word accountability. I think that our job as board members is to hold Dr. Risky and other members accountable to the public, who our voters are, the parents, the staff, that we are in control. We are liaison between you voters and Dr. Risky. So we are the ones to sit there and hold accountable all the CFO and the attorney accountable for their actions with us in our school systems. Therefore, that's our role.
Ms. Babb, District 4.
In addition to accountability, I think it's important that everyone knows it's our responsibility to ensure that all recommendations made by the superintendent to improve our school system will benefit all children in the city. In addition to that, I think the board's role is to engage and support the community in supporting the school system. That includes going out, communicating with neighborhood watch leaders, communicating with parents, communicating with teachers, to understand what they're looking for and representing their wishes as a board member on the school.
Mr. McGinnis.
I think the board's responsibility has been, but one of them is to hire the superintendent, the chief financial officer, and the board attorney. They can't act unless the superintendent brings something to the board. They have to wait for that to happen. There has to be a good relationship between the superintendent and the board. The board has the ultimate responsibility for all the employees and education in the system.
I think the best way we, as board members, that we can work on solutions within our school system is we need to collaborate with each other, collaborate with the superintendent, we need to engage the community, get them involved, and we need to engage the teachers, find out where some of the obstacles are. And we need to bring all that to the table. I think the biggest role as school board members, we are passing a lot of information back and forth between what we're hearing from our teachers and community and how we can implement that with our superintendent.
That's why.
The superintendent is the CEO, and the board basically sort of checks and balances. How we meet challenges would be by communicating with the public and stakeholders and effectively collaborating with the board and making sure these challenges are specified in the superintendent's goals, which are set by the school board.
Dr. Mercer.
It is the board's responsibility to set policy, but we set the policy by getting information from the teachers and from the parents and from the students. It is also, I think, our job to support the superintendent. However, I would say, even on my part, I want to interpret any decisions from the board in light of how they translate down to the schools. I think it's our need to be a liaison between the schools. It says here on channel number 9, I can agree and comment other candidates.
Next question is sort of follow-up to that. Many of you touched on the chief duty of the board in terms of hiring, firing, evaluating, supervising the superintendent. So we'd like to ask if you would grade the current superintendent and add on his performance. We'll start with you, Mr. McGinnis, District 4.
Thank you, gentlemen. How I would rate the superintendent. Well, first given as an assignment, I would give him an A, possibly an A plus. The plus would come from his having the gumption to do something about this desegregation order that we've been languishing on for all these years. He has taken on a huge challenge, and I applaud him for it.
Thank you. And I neglected to mention that this is a 60-second answer here.
No.
But you use your time.
Jim, I got 11 seconds. No, that's fine.
Mr. Buchanan?
Let's see, how would I rate our superintendent? I would say that as far as our finances, I think I would give him an A. As far as the director that the previous board chief unitary status, I would say he has done a good job there. I would give him an A. As far as communication with our community, I would say I'd probably give him a C. I think that's something that really needs to be improved on his standpoint. As far as teacher morale, I think I would give him a C. So I guess that probably averages out to maybe a B.
Like you said, the goals of superintendent are set by the school board, and every year, at the end of the school year, they review the superintendent's goals, and I've been to all 3 of those meetings over the past few years where they review them. Those board members will know best how to grade the superintendent, because they know the specifics of each of those goals, because they make this out for the superintendent. And so I would go with their judgment on that, because I don't know all the details of each of those goals that were set forth. And what the board members have done over the past 3 years is they have rated the superintendent and given him an A overall.
Yes, I would rate Dr. Mordinsky very high, actually, especially for the job that he was hired to do. I don't know the exact job, but it seems to me it was to turn the school system around, to improve our finances, and to improve our facilities that were getting pretty shabby. And he has also worked with personnel a bit in that, although we don't always like this, he has placed personnel where they need to be and where they want to be, so that we have equal ability to have teachers in all schools. I also think that in some ways he marched forth in military style, and he made some decisions and he made some actions, and there was no debating with him. However, again, to do the job, I think he took that kind of style. Now if we just back down a little bit and listen, as things mellow out of it, I would rate him very high for what he has done.
Lisa Farrell.
My children just recently received lots of syllabuses from their teachers, and the syllabuses outline what they're studying and what their requirements are for this year in algebra or social studies or whatever it is. And it will say that you get this many points for this test, and this many points for homework, and this many points for attendance. Well, the school board has done the same thing with Dr. Mordinsky. They have set goals for him to meet, and each goal is weighted. And the last finished goal, I believe Dr. Mordinsky got a 93. And the things that he had to accomplish on those were to increase the flexibility in the budget so we can move money around when we find a need in the school. We have local funding available to hire an aide for a teacher if that classroom is an aide. Another would be to accelerate learning, to increase students taking AP exams, and we've done that, and to improve our capital infrastructure. So I would give him an A because he's done what we've asked him to do, and if you have more things to ask him, we need to put that down in mind.
Hanson, no.
Well, as I were a school board member, I'd set a different set of goals for Dr. Mordinsky. I think that it's important to know that Dr. Mordinsky has expressed the opinion multiple times that it's not his job to deal with the public. That's the school board's job. And, well, last time I checked, he deals with the day-to-day of the school system, and we just set policies, so I think that makes it his job to deal with the public. He has got the policies designed to shape public opinion instead of respect public opinion. And I think that I've spoken with enough teachers to say this with confidence. There are several teachers who are scared. They're scared because if they speak up about needing additional funding for a program or issues within the school, that they will be hammered down. And I think that that needs to change. Dr. Williams balanced the budget on the backs of special needs students, so don't go with the narrative you've heard.
Do you have a letter grade there?
D.
You the letter grade again?
That was the question.
Oh, okay. I have a very true view. I think the district definitely needed to move in a direction where Dr. Williams came in, and he has done that. I think his strengths are definitely in his financial and capital plan. He's economist by nature, so that makes sense. He's a military guy, so I'm married to a military guy, so I know how they operate. There's a problem, solution, we move it on. And unfortunately, I know that hasn't translated extremely well into a school district like ours. And a lot of the data that's coming out of the district showing how test scores have improved and all that, I see the data, but it's not what I feel. And so there's a disconnect for me in what I'm being told and what I feel is going on in the district. And I think that as a board, we need to reconcile that. As a letter grade, since we now have the standards-based grading, you're going to do 1 through 4. I'll give them 2.5.
Thanks, Captain Spaulding. I agree with you. I believe that there are some aspects of this job I think he's done well on the budget. I do believe that has, as I mentioned, I think it's done in a little bit skeptical way. We were $19 million in debt, and also now we're $28 million in a positive. So mathematically, those are showing about a $20 million profit per year. Sounds like that's a pretty good number. So I think we should put some of these programs back in the track for the loss of the last couple of years. So I really believe that the school system's looking pretty good financially. So again, I know that kind of came from. The buildings I think are phenomenal. My sons are at, like I said, New Century, Wayne High School. It's a beautiful school. Huntsville High, the freshman academy's got finished. It's a beautiful school. Great facilities for our kids. It does an excellent. Communication, I would say it's been a dismal failure. I would give them a 1 in communication to our teachers and the faculty of the school system. And so on a scale of 1 to 4, I would give them 2.5 or a 3. It's 3 meets expectations. And
Ms. Ballard.
I think we have to be clear that you can only evaluate someone based on what their goals and objectives stipulated they can evaluate on. And for Dr. Bordinsky, the goals that he was provided were based on humanitarian status, they were based on improving the school system, and they were based on setting a vision to move us forward. With that being said, I have to give him an A. I think what we would have to do if we're elected to the board is to ensure that on future contracts, on future goals and objectives that we set for the superintendent, we include the element of effective communication, we include an element of teacher appreciation, we include an element of balancing the budget while protecting our most vulnerable students in the special education program. I think he's done exactly what he was asked to do as a superintendent. It's a matter of reassessing or adjusting some of those objectives to ensure that we keep going in a positive direction, but we improve in areas that we need to. And to be real quick, Dr. Bordinsky, what are the medicine our school system needs? Now we're at a point where we have to see if the side effects are what we're willing to continue to stand.
Agree?
Hey, I said, just verify.
Candidates, our next question, we desire a 90-second response. Gives you 30 more seconds to answer. It kind of builds a little bit on my first question this evening, on really why you wanted to be part of the Board of Education. So specifically, we begin with Anson Knowles in District 3. Tonight, you've talked a little bit about it, but have you actually volunteered or worked in a school before? If you have, tell us a little bit more about that. Describe your experience. Mr. Knowles.
I have, starting in kindergarten at my son's school, volunteered to go in and help the teacher during lunchtime. That was several years ago to give her relief so that she could take a break. So I was in charge of a small table full of kindergartners almost every day for the entire time my son was in kindergarten. That let me, I guess, understand from a teacher's perspective how difficult it is to deal with children, because I have no idea it's tough. I really respect them. After that, I started reaching out to the PTA, trying to get because I guess I wanted to be around my son more, and that led to various roles in the school, from chairing a field day, PTA, to I guess serving on the PTA board at Farley Elementary. And on the board, I was secretary and vice president of membership, and in that role, I really I was also vice president of programs. But in those roles, I got to know the administrators and the teachers and students and parents, and I really started to fall in love with the community, and I kind of feel as though I've been called to serve, and I appreciate going on to 26.
Ms. Furler?
I too started as a work mom in my son's kindergarten class, and that lasted about a year. And then I said, I gotta jump in. I just can't sit idle. That's just not my personality. So I did get onto the PTA, and our PTA was primarily a fundraising and social organization, which a lot of PTAs are. There's nothing wrong with that. But I really recognized the need that our PTA could do so much more. And so I started focusing on how can we bring more value to our school. And I was looking at it from a strategic level. How can our PTA get more parents involved in those kinds of things? So our principal also came to us and said, we need some help. Our math scores are not good. Can you guys help us out? And jumped into action. I was in the math tutor lab for video students for over 2 years. We had the highest math scores the school's ever seen on our tests. I started the math team because the parents came to me and said, Kathy, we need a math team at the school. And I said, who's going to do it? And they're like, you are. And I said, okay. I'm a math person. I do that. Math teacher started program, spooky science night, all of these things to help. I'm a very academic person, you might have already figured out. So all of those things were right up my alley, and I thought our school needed those. And then from there, I moved on to the district level, and I started media technology on the district level. And in my own fruition or intuition, whatever the word is, I started a class with parents because I recognized the need that they did not connect with the digital curriculum. So I went out to many schools, held many workshops, designed a class, presented a class on digital technology and helping parents.
Like the previous one before me, I also started in elementary school. It actually started in kindergarten. I helped as a table during lunchtime. But they also needed one more time, they needed additional lockers for children at one time. There was no place to put their coats and their hats when they came in the wintertime. So me and my father went down there and built lockers for the kids at that one time and stayed involved in PTA in the school there. So wherever we go to the elementary school and help do different things there. Again, from PTA as we went to the school and the middle school years, I became associated with Science Olympiad and led a team 2 different years, different events. We went down to Auburn, took our kids down and competed in the Science Olympiad. We also worked with them on butterflies. We had Mount Gap, we had we planted bushes and did the butterfly nets for the children. And then mobile field trips and then programs for the children through down to Dolphin Island for the children, and also to Project American Life. So it was involved in many aspects that way. And then also in PTA.
Ms. Bowden?
I got into the schools back in 2006. Graduated from college in 2005. I traveled a lot with my job going at the time. And once I got settled, I just sat down and decided that I needed to go back into schools to help kids that were like me in some point in my life. I understand the importance of mentors. I understand the importance of a lot of people having their hands in a child's life. And I understand and I know what it took just to get me to go to college. My mom will have a couple of good stories for you when she gets in town. But my main motivation for getting into the school system was simply to be a resource to the families, to the parents. I'm a product of a single parent home, so I know that it takes volunteers to help support some children. And I was gladly available to start serving and mentoring in schools. So I've done math tutoring primarily as an engineer. I've done science tutoring. I've implemented engineering weeks at schools throughout Huntsville when I was president of a nonprofit. I support science, technology, engineering, and math initiatives. I've implemented a program called No Parent Left Behind through one of my nonprofits. The sole purpose of that program was to provide support to the parents at Stone Middle School to help them get engaged and support their their children's education. But to sum it all up, I got back into education because I didn't have children of my own, but I knew that I could be an impact to somebody else's child. And if I could help someone else's child or anyone's child, I'll be glad to. I'll do that whether I'm elected or not.
Mr. McGinnis?
I have 36 years of experience inside the Huntsville City Schools. I've served in middle schools, high schools, South Huntsville, East Huntsville, West Huntsville. And I feel like I've had a pretty good coach of what goes on in school. I have hands-on experience. My other fellow candidates don't have any hands-on experience except Dr. Bruce. It helps to have worked in the school. One of the things that I cherish that I ever did inside the school system was to help kids in reading comprehension at an inner city school. And I used Latin to do it. And it was very successful. We had accolades from the state, money rewards from the state, and it helped prove that kids can learn. Anybody can learn if properly taught. But I have the hands-on experience. You know, I did volunteer work. My kids went to Huntsville High, and when I was a freshman, I go to the booster club meetings at Huntsville High. They'd all get quiet when I came in, but I go to them and participate just like any other parent.
Thank you. Mr. Buchanan?
As a parent, anytime we have kids going through the school system, obviously we're all getting involved. My son was early on in elementary school with Holy Spirit. I coached his team, I think, soccer team for 5 years. And also was involved in Cub Scouts. My wife taught at the school at the time. And so there was always a constant contribution. I think as far as what my talents really are, being an architect, the things where I've been able to contribute, I spent a lot of time donating my time and services on free of charge for Lincoln Middle Schools, trying to help them develop their ministry. I've also been involved in the Huntsville Inner City Learning Center, donating time to them expand their facilities and doing it free of charge. You get involved with these kids, you get involved with the program, you get to learn a little bit more about what's going on. In the Huntsville Inner City Learning Center, we ended up going through and designing some of their expansion projects. We ended up creating a garden on some of my family land so that they could use that as a teaching tool. And so we spent the summer working with them on that, with problems, classical qualities from the school. I donated my services so that school could come in and be able to have that school approved as low cost as possible.
Ms. Wilder?
I've been a regular substitute teacher, especially in our STEM and STEAM lab. This was very exciting for me because I have a bachelor's degree and a master's of science degree, that I was not easy for a master's of science degree, so I was able to work in the STEM lab, STEAM lab, which was a wonderful opportunity for our kids. I've also been serving as a student mentor. I've worked on various PTA committees, including teacher appreciation and AR store, rewarding kids for their reading points, earning their reading points. I am the PTA committee chair of Club Cancer, which is our after-school enrichment club, a program that I developed and implemented. I interviewed instructors, did open market comparisons as far as cost to make sure that the parents were not overcharged to provide a fair fee. I've also been a DI, Destination Imagination team manager. That was very exciting. That's kind of STEAM in a competitive arena. Y'all that's very exciting. I've also been a volunteer pre-K Spanish instructor. I've been a reading buddy. I've helped with laptop distribution, and I've advised other schools on how to start Spanish clubs.
Dr. Brusick?
Yes, thank you. I love this question, of course. I am presently not volunteering in the schools anywhere right now. But I want to tell you that I was blessed to be principal at Whitesbury Elementary and then Jones Valley. And I brought a lot of things to those schools, and it sounds like bragging, but listen, these are true. I really wanted to make those schools new and innovative and as kid-friendly as I could. So we started early a science lab. We hadn't done one before. Very early on, it was wired for closed-circuit TV, and we started ETV, and then I took it over to Jones Valley TV. So when you had your morning broadcast, I promise you, I was really right there at the very beginning. We started chess clubs and talent shows, and all these kinds of things, so that children have something to do. I want to say I went to Dolphin Island myself and took the kids so they'd be able to go. I caused 2 playgrounds to be built, one in Jones Valley and one at Whitesburg. And I've also tutored kids in reading and math when I knew they needed it. I actually started yearbooks down there. I know yearbooks have been around forever, but we made them what they are today. I had a weekly newsletter to parents. I did start kindergarten open house, bring your children in and they get acclimated with the school. Started kindergarten graduations. So I just really feel that in every day I was just always trying to think of things we could do for the children, and I'm proud to say it was a good career.
Thank you. Ms. Barrow.
I've volunteered and worked in elementary, middle, and high schools. I've been a room mom in a general ed class and room mom in a special ed class, and sponsored all of the celebrations and made sure that, especially in the special ed class, when we're celebrating Thanksgiving, we invite our elected officials. I think it's powerful for a young child with special needs to be sitting next to the mayor enjoying turkey, and it's a good thing for everybody. And I've been a band chaperone. I have hauled large instruments in the back of my old Suburban to Milton Frank. I have worked numerous sessions, opportunities at Milton Frank. I've sat on the policy committee for Huntsville City Schools. I've sat on the pre-K committee. I've sat on the building programming committee for Grissom High School. I've been on the positive behavior anti-bullying committee. I was on the summer reading committee this last year for high school post-selections. I have, through the PTA, helped set up forums just like this one for other candidates, and helped or worked with Huntsville City Schools to do backlog tours to give parents an idea of where you go in Huntsville City Schools to find out the solutions you need for your school and your child. I've taught some leadership classes for both Alabama PTA and Huntsville PTA. I was the president of PTAs at Grissom, president of the city. I've been legislative vice president, received national award for legislating for advocacy for kids, and I've worked in community education committees like Serve for the City and the Character Foundation in Alabama.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to something that this panel has touched on a little bit. We're going to specifically look at youngsters in poverty. And what we want to know specifically, this is a 90-second, 2-part question. How will your past experiences help you empathize with those in poverty? And then how will you use these experiences to bridge the achievement gap? We'll start in District 3 with Kathy Brooker.
My kids go to a school that has fairly high poverty. It's about 46%. This is wasn't something I was familiar with when I started. My kids started at Whitesburg, but I want to embrace it. It's these kids need to be loved. I worked in remedial math classes that I mentioned, and a lot of times what they need is a pat on the back and say, if you can do this, I believe in you. Before the art test that I mentioned earlier, we gave every child a golden point and a personal note that said, I believe in you, you're going to do awesome, and I can't wait to celebrate with you. And sure enough, they delivered. And I think that's a lot of what these kids need, and that's the empathy that I can give to those children. The second part was about achievement gap. I think there's a lot of opportunities in our district, in our city, to bring more mentors into the schools. I think with one-on-one kind of relationships with these students, I think that will help give them something to be accountable to a lot of times, and make them feel that they're going to achieve not only for themselves, but also for somebody else. I think we have to be careful in our district that as far as the achievement gap goes, that we are not looking at standards and making sure that that is the minimum that we expect out of any children, or the maximum rather, that's the minimum we expect out of any children. I think we change that mindset, that our kids will do great.
Pat Sanders.
How I can relate is, I got to remember who's in the audience, I have to commend her. When I was 12 years old, my $5,000 a year, she supported 4 children. We ended up getting 8. We got 3 free lunches, and we survived. I saw my mother work very hard to support her family, 4, and she did a great job. She taught us great rules, and taught us to work hard. Through that experience, I was also able to finish high school, go to college, get a degree. My brother also had learning disabilities, which some people call him, he could move on. He actually ended up getting a degree, went to college, got a master's degree in accounting. So how I can relate is I was there. I worked my way through college, I paid for it myself. I worked and paid for my college all the way through. That's another issue, is college costs at one time. How I can relate and use those, I see I can work with children and other people that are in the same situation. A lot of single parent families in the city also has a high divorce rate, and it is an issue. So I think I can relate to children, talking that no matter what the circumstances, with your faith, that I think you can work forward and make a career and do what you want to do in your life. I think I'm an example, that with my example of my mother, that anything is possible, no matter where you are in your life. But good teachers are very important, and that's all 3 of my teachers from Huntsville here tonight, and they were influenced in my life also. And so that's very important that we have people that influence kids going forward.
Kimberly Beth.
This is probably something about myself I do not tout. I think I'm a product of a single parent household. I think it's important that people see who I am and what I've accomplished before they hear about me or my story. So I'm answering this question because it was asked, not necessarily because I was bringing it up personally. But I myself, single parent household, I lived in public housing. Like many parents who were raised by single parents, at some point in life they were raised by their grandmother. My grandmother had me until I was about 4 or 5 years old, and she had me again in middle school. So I had the benefit of going to middle school, which is probably the toughest time in any child's life, while living in public housing. So imagine the difficulties and the socioeconomic challenges that we faced as a family. But while that is a little bit about my background, I can tell you I'm here for 2 reasons. One, I had teachers who cared. I would say it another way. I want to say hated, but I can't really say that because it's filming. But I had teachers who cared about me, and I had a family. I had teachers that had expectations. I was blessed to not meet one teacher that actually thought less of me because of where I was from in my environment. Somehow I made it through my entire matriculation by having teachers surrounding me who had expectations that they did for me or any other child in the system. And so I'm thankful for that. So I think a big part of it is just making sure that we have the same expectations for children at McDonald Elementary as we had at Hampton.
Walter Davis.
I think I have worked with children at Stone that were in the poverty category, Chapman, Suddenly, even some Christian, in Harrisburg. I think over the 36 years I've dealt with kids, they tug at my heart the most because they had so much to go through just to get to school every day. There were some at Chapman, I wanted to how they made it to the school building, literally. Can they learn? Yes, they can learn. They can learn just like everybody else and exceed. So you don't hold expectations any different for them. You make sure that they know that they're cared about. And that's why it's so important to have teachers that know how to show kids that they care about it, literally care about it. The rubber meets the road in learning when the teacher communicates to the student and teaches. And you've got to do everything you can do as an administrator, parent, whatever, to help that situation. The kids need to be fed properly before they go to school, and the physical needs need to be taken care of. Thank you.
Let's move to District 2 now, Richard Buchanan.
See, how do I relate to our at-risk students? I would say the way I relate, it's always been a compassionate issue for me, and it has a lot to do with one of the main reasons I'm running for school board, and I am passionate about this issue. It's always been a problem. We've got same IQs, one student in one school matching up with the same IQ and age in a different school. One student's going to be successful, and one's not. That puzzle is always interesting me. And so, in talking, I actually met a teacher that's outside of our school system that has single-handedly started a program for at-risk students that she brought them to teach them how to be leaders. And I think the biggest thing that she does, she kind of four-step process. One, she first brings hope into changing that mindset that yes, there is something that these kids can aspire to. And then she starts teaching them the principles and habits of what it takes to be a leader. And she then turns around and takes those principles and integrates them into what they're doing in the classroom, what they're doing in the community. And then she, once she integrates that, then she turns around and she brings people from the community to show how they can be supported.
Beth Wild.
How do I empathize? I rode the desegregation bus, essentially. That's what it was when I was growing up in Miami. So I'm familiar with this poverty situation that people live in. I also have mentored students since my child has been in the school system that live in poverty, that don't have clothes, that are hungry when they come to school. I'm so grateful for the feeding program because these children are tired and they're hungry when they're at school first thing in the morning. What I encourage is for especially men in our community to please sign up to be a mentor. There are students out there that need a strong male role model, and there are a lot of mothers that do that, and most of parents that when they can step forward to stay home, it's the mom that stays home. But some boys need a strong male role model, so please, I encourage you, it's 45 minutes a week to do that. What I would like to see is the pre-K expanded, maybe a pre-K3 within maybe a public housing area or nearby, cooperating with the private existing pre-K. I'd like to see who does maximize the time we have with students that are in poverty. You know, the classroom makes sure the homework is being done while they're at school. Maybe we can utilize all retired teachers. I know that's being used a little bit so that we have maximized the time we have with those children to help them.
And back to District 3 and Ellen Bristol.
Well, I really, all right, one time I'll get that. I really can't say that I have, well, no, let me say it this way. Probably as far as my relationship with children in poverty began early when I was first placed here in Huntsville in 1970, and I was over at the, I can't remember the name of the project now, at Calvary Hill. And I realized that they were hungry, they were jockeying for status, they didn't want anybody to put them down, they were afraid to fail, and I realized that they were also low grade level. And so I had to bring all my first grade materials to the third grade and taught them to read. I think reading is one of the things that really separates poverty, or really makes a line between the schools where your poverty is not so much money as it's reading ability. And then, lo and behold, at the end of my career, busing started, and I was at Jones Valley, and then we were receivers of some children who were bused from, say, Rolling Hills, from the north part of town, and they came into school, and again, they could not read. And so we had to, I actually did with the counselor, we sat up and taught them to read and do some math. I don't know, I can't say that I have a lot of experience with them though, but I do understand their needs, and I think a caring teacher, understanding of them is key to making them successful.
And Elisa Farrell.
My father was the first person in our family to get a bachelor's degree. He grew up about 3 hours from here, just north of Nashville in Topeka, Kentucky, and shoes were not always available, and houses were papered with newspaper to keep the draft from coming in. My mother grew up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, a very similar situation. It was all ag-based, and in our family, my dad was the first to get his college degree, and I was the second, even though I had numerous cousins and aunts and uncles. But after Dad got his, the floodgates opened because we valued education, and education is the way to move these children out of poverty. In order to bridge the achievement gap, we have to make a decision that we're not going to allow it to happen anymore, that we're going to make a difference, that we're going to invest in good teachers, high-quality teachers there. We're going to support them while they're there because they are the biggest tool that we have in changing the achievement gap. We're going to invest in quality curriculum and excellent facilities so those children can have just as much of a chance of getting a good education and being able to find occupation or go to college after they graduate. So in order to bridge it, we have to decide that it's not acceptable, that it's time to change that dynamic in our city. It's time to provide a high-quality education to every child and do so by providing the resources necessary to make that happen.
And we'll wrap up this question with Anson Knowles.
I can relate to poverty because after my parents were divorced when I was 10 years old, I spent a short period of time in a shelter with my brothers. I saw firsthand what the achievement gap in education comes from. And it comes from culture, a culture that is self-perpetuating and needs to change. Policy at the school board level can't fix the achievement gap because it requires parents and the community to solve that problem. Implementing policies like the one that we've implemented this year, where 22 schools in the system now offer free lunch and free breakfast to every student in those schools, will not solve the problem because it removes responsibility from the parent and shifts it to the school system. We need to shift responsibility back to the parents and let them feel empowered to make decisions about their own children. School choice, which is the best method of empowering the parent, will allow the parent to make more choices about their own children. It will help them achieve an education that it may be better than the one offered in the public system. It's important to also reach out to churches and ask them for help reaching the single-parent families, which are most usually the ones in poverty and in need.
I'd like to thank you all for your answers so far. This question is a submitted question. We're going to start with Pat Sanders in District 3. Pretend, it's also a 9-second answer. Pretend that you are at the end of your school board service. What achievement do you most want to be remembered for?
I hope at the end of my school board time that they would say that the Huntsville City Schools has come united and that the board is working together to reach the goals of Huntsville City. I feel like at this point in time, the board is a little divided. There's an animosity in there, there's a division. I would hope that I would be able to bring my skills of communication to work with individual people on the board and also to work with the school systems to say that things are better. The teachers have a better place to work, and a better place to learn. We talk about, I think teachers are the main concern. We talk about the last question, we talk about children that are in poverty. I look back and I can name every one of my teachers that I had in elementary school. I can name the teachers that I had in middle school and in high school, the ones that were influences on my life. Those are the things I want to, as a legacy I would believe. I want to know that I want people to say that he came in and made a difference in our schools and helped communication, that people now feel better about our whole system. That Huntsville City Schools is a better place. That he implemented a unity in our school system, that District 2, District 3, District 5, they all come together to make it a better place, not just individuals from each group.
District 4, Ms. Val.
I think after my 4 years, I think I want to be the person that people look to and say, you know what, she included the public. She went to the public and she made sure the public was part of this process. Additionally, I think I want people to say she improved the quality of school. She supported not only the policy aspect, but the community involvement aspect of improving the schools. I think one of the most important things that I'd like to see is I want people, when I'm done, to look at McDonald like they would look at any other school in Huntsville, look at LOK like they would look at any other school in Huntsville, when their child to go to those schools. I think right now we have a little bit of a perception issue. So what I would like to do by the next 4 years is support changing the perception of every school in Huntsville, those that have negative connotations. I think it's important that our school board lead the effort in changing how we perceive each one of the schools in Huntsville. I want my community to be able to look at me and be able to say thank you because I did what I told them that I would be able to do, and I support them include them, communicate to them, and make sure that they're part of the process. And lastly, I think along with Pat, I think all of the school board members are looking to unify our school system. I think if you elect the right three people on this board, you'll see that happen. Not saying our current board member didn't do that. I just think where we are in the process, we're going to need people that know how to be inclusive and know how to work with others to facilitate a better school system.
Mr. McDaniel.
When I look back and I served whatever time I served, I want to say that I had a part in making this school system equal to the reputation of the town. Huntsville, Alabama has an excellent reputation throughout this country, and our school system needs to be up to the same standard or better. I've spent my whole career in Huntsville, in the Huntsville City Schools, and I have a personal feeling for it, and I want to help. I think I can help. And the areas that we talked about here tonight, we need to have a united board that is oblivious to any petty issues of the day, and looking ahead, and looking at one person, or one entity, or the betterment of this school system. We need to have a town that's colorblind and sectional blind. I say that because everybody knows about North Huntsville, South Huntsville. But you know, there's another area, it's called West Huntsville. That's my district. And we have people in West Huntsville that feel like the parkway is the Berlin Wall. They feel just as segregated from things as anybody else. My goal is to eliminate all that. Thank you.
District 2, Mr. Buchanan.
After 4 years of serving on the school board, I hope that we will have educated, curious, creative, well-rounded students who can function in life. Not necessarily students that can answer a lot of correct answers on a test, but who can function in life. And I think the key to this is our teachers. Teachers that can act autonomous in the classroom, teach problem-solving skills, not necessarily teaching to the test. So I think it's important that as school board members we're able to communicate that, and communicate with the teachers, communicate with other school board members and our community, make sure we're all on the same page that what the end goal of education truly should be. And in my opinion, that's what I think we should be going for. And not 4 years, I hope that's what we are doing.
Ms. Wilder.
I would also like to see the unification of our community and all stakeholders behind our school system together, and so that we can move forward and we can be confident that we're going in the right direction, that we're progressing, and that that builds our community, makes it stronger, it builds our city, makes our city stronger. And this is what I see happening, and these are the early stages of that. That's what, and then if we do that way, we unify, are able to bring that by communicating with all the stakeholders. Then when we do gain unitary status, then we can all be proud of and feel that we've earned. So that's what I would think. I would hope in 4 years, since these green factors are already being addressed, that we could ultimately gain unitary status. And not only gain unitary status, but also it be a unified, such that we do in a unified way with confidence and pride, that builds pride in the school system and pride in this community.
District 3, Dr. Bruce.
I want a school named after me. Think I'm good? No, I really think that I've said from the very beginning, what I think we need for this excellent school system now is that we work towards neighborhood schools, where again, it's the pride of the neighborhood, and people support it, they come there, meetings, the school matches the the needs of the community, and everybody takes pride in it. That really is what I like to work for, and I like to be remembered for that. I think it's very important. Many of us grew up that way, going to a neighborhood school, and then it was the pride of the community. I sort of like to return to that kind of basic.
Ms. Barrett?
I echo what Beth says. I like to see our city school systems and our city become unified and not just unitary. That we celebrate each other's successes, we support each other, we collaborate together, and help with our ultimate goal, and that is to provide a high-quality education to every student in the city of Huntsville. I'd like our schools to be safe places where our teachers and our students are safe from weather events and from crisis events, and I'd like to make sure every school is that way. And that we enrich our kids' lives with their education as we equip them to move forward, whether that is to college or career, that we don't forget the enriching part, because fine arts and STEM should go hand in hand, so that we stay focused on that. Also that we would support our staff and our teachers through the resources that they need to continue to excel at what they do, through professional development and supplies in the classrooms. And finally, that there's harmony in our city and harmony in the school system, that we stop thinking about individual desires and start thinking about what's best for everyone, what's best for the whole system, and we take care of our schools that way.
Continuing in District 3, Mr. Knowles.
I want people to look back at my time on the school board and say, he was honest. He looked at the facts and circumstances, talked about me, and made decisions that were in the best interest of South Huntsville, and took into consideration the needs of the students and the entire system at the same time. I'd also like to, I guess, have people look back at the time I spent on the school board making decisions about the students, and have people say, well, he found irregularities, budgetary inconsistencies, because as a tax accountant, I want to be the one that finds the corruption in the system, because Alabama consistently ranks the low end of the system, low end of the country in terms of academic excellence, and the higher end in terms of political corruption. And if y'all think that that doesn't exist here in Huntsville, you're wrong, because it does. And there needs to be an account on that school board to ferret out what's going on in the system. I also don't want people to say he was the guy that had his face on a sign in front of the school like the one sitting right out here. Because there's David Blair's face sitting on a sign that says, "Thank you for your leadership." That is shameful. The taxpayers pay for the freshman academy here. And on Whitesburg Drive, Junior Robinson has a sign that says, "Thank you for your leadership." The taxpayers pay for that as well. Neither one of those school board members.
My answer is pretty simple. When I look at school board, I hope there's a long line of students of any race, any socioeconomic status, here to give me a vote, because then I know I can do my job right. The other thing is, I think Huntsville can achieve the strongest school system in the state, and I think we've got to work towards that. And we don't need to keep comparing ourselves to ourselves, but compare ourselves to the strongest and best schools in the state and beyond. And if we can achieve those two things, I would feel like I have succeeded. And I want to leave knowing that I led honorably and respectfully.
We've almost reached the end, and you're still smiling. That's a good place to be. I always have a question, but an opportunity right now. You have 90 seconds to make closing statements. We drew a name from the hat prior to tonight's forum. And tonight we will begin with Beth Wilder. Your name was drawn from that hat. Beth, we have 90 seconds to talk to the voters, talk to parents, talk to teachers in this city school system.
Well, good evening. I want what most of us want. I want what's best for our students, for our schools, and for our city. Like most parents, I want my child and yours to be successful in life, and that starts with a solid education. A solid education system and educated community also provide business opportunities, bring businesses to our city, and provide job opportunities for our graduates. I've been committed to being a knowledgeable and positive influence in our schools and our community. Over the years, I've been increasingly involved in advocating for what is best for our students and for our schools. I regularly attend school board meetings. I do research. I correspond with local and state representatives. I've even been to the country a couple of times on education-related issues. I've made this my job, and it's been my privilege. Huntsville is a wonderful city, and Huntsville City Schools is on a great trajectory. But we must stay focused and keep our momentum. We need to utilize the best technology, the best curriculum, the best assessments available. Make sure our teachers and staff have appropriate professional development opportunities, and we must be effective leaders and communicators. That way we can be confident in our progress and ultimately in our unitary status. 3 of 5 school board seats will be up, and it will be filled with people who are student-focused, preschool-minded, and are veteran collaborators. And I think I am that person in District 2.
Dr. Brissett.
Well, I would just like to say that I'm going to stand back on my experience again and say that I would really like to be on the school board. I'd like to be on there a lot. They have right now there people who can make excellent financial decisions. They have people who understand the buying and selling of land. They have people who know how to manage facilities and fix them. But they don't have an educator on the board. And I think having an educator on the board works something like this. I remember when Dr. Wardinsky announced that every child was going to have a computer in the room, and I mean in the system, and I thought, wow, wonderful. But then I thought, I knew as an educator that you can't just like that and expect that you can go successfully. That there were problems, there were glitches. I mean, we should have gone more slowly into that. We should have had more training for the teachers, more lenience if the computers didn't work, they were allowed to take books out, things like that. So, I mean, an educator can really translate decisions down to the schools and how it will be affected. I always have said the school's the thing. Just like Shakespeare said, the play's the thing. I think school's the thing. We have to really figure out what's happening in the schools. We don't want to make just test takers anymore. We want to create lifelong learners. So I'm really proud of the system, and I'd ask you to please let me serve on there again, with them again. It would be an honor. Thank you. Even if it didn't get me to school.
Ms. Barrow.
This is our 6th forum, and in many of the previous forums, some of the candidates have said we're at a crossroads. Well, 4 years ago, we were holding a very similar forum. We were at a crossroads then. We are always going to be at a crossroads. There's always more to accomplish. There will always be challenges to overcome. And I think that the way to do that is to support student achievement, to focus on the needs of the students, keep that at the center of everything we do. If we want our students to achieve great things, they're going to need great teachers. In order to have great teachers, to keep them and to attract them, we need to treat them well. So if we keep students at the center, all those other things will fall into place. The other thing we need to do is to continue to support and encourage parent engagement, not just in District 3, but in all districts, because when mom and dad are there, it instills a sense of pride with the children. And they work harder, and they're proud of what they're doing, and they understand that my parents died for education too, so this is something that I need to pursue. And we also need to be advocating for our public schools. In the last 3 years, the federal government has cut special ed funding. The state government has cut special ed funding. We need to do what we can to stand in that gap, and not just at the local level, but at the state and federal level, to make sure that our children have the resources they need to receive the services they deserve. Thank you very much. ElisaFarrell.com. Please vote for me on Tuesday, August 26th.
Mr. Knowles.
I think everyone here can agree that, at least on the stage, we want student achievement to improve. But at the same time, I think it's important to know that Wardinsky balanced the budget by cutting $9 million from special education funding, and today he spent about $200 million on building new construction for schools. And I don't know about you, but I think that all money that the Madison County Builders Association has put in local races might have something to do with that. I think it'd be worth your while to go out there and look at the fair campaign practices act forums and research those issues undergo. I have been a vocal opponent of Common Core, and I want people here to know that as well, because local decisions in education are one of the reasons why I'm running for the Common Core outsources the standard-setting decision-making process, which is a drastic and radical departure from the way that we previously developed standards in the state. I'm a proponent of school choice because I believe that parents should have more of a right over what happens with their children when they send them to school. And I believe it will improve education system-wide. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I have graduate experience in accounting, graduate education in accounting, and I want to be the one who prevents the next budgetary free fall. I'm the one who is sitting on his hands trying to figure out why we had $20 million disappear from the budget. That's why I went to the school board member for South Huntsville.
Ms. Rhodes.
So my son came home, this is great, came home today and said, Mom, guess what? Immediately I started listening to hardly ever talks to me. This year we're going to learn about World War II, World War I, and if there's time, I want you to learn about Gulf War. And I'm thinking, ooh. And, but he was so excited, and then he finished by saying, it's going to be a great year, Mom. That's what I want to bring to our kids across this district. Every child find that unique, that special talent, that special interest. And I think we definitely can achieve that with a lot of hard work. As far as my candidacy on the school board, there's been, through this whole process, this is my first run for any political office, what I keep hearing over and over again is we're counting to 3. We have to count to 3. And it's the 3 votes to get your way. And I'm going to challenge our board not to count to 3, but to count to 23,000, because that's what we represent. We represent 23,000 kids in this district. I'm not tied to any organization. My agenda and my only agenda are kids, academics. I understand the importance of parents and teachers in that equation, and that's what I'm about. Lots of people keep saying, you're going to split the vote with X, Y, Z. I think what that says to me is that possibly I'm the best rounded and solid candidate that brings the best of all the candidates together in one person. I hope you see that too. Please vote Kathy Worker on August 26th. Thank you. Mr. Sanders?
Like it's been stated, it's about the children. And my daughter, in 6th grade, the school system of Mount Rapids was a great school at that point in time. It's a good school now. At that time, she was excited about school. The teachers worked together. The principal was very involved. She wanted to go to school. 2 years later, she had a very hard time going to school. She didn't want to be there. And I realized it's lessons, but the class, there were only 7 honor students in that class. There just seemed like an air of trouble. There was a hostile environment. That's like what somebody told me, that the teachers, the schools with the teachers work environment is our children's learning environment. We have to make a positive environment for our children. I think teachers are essential. I've got a friend of mine whose daughter graduated from college 2 years ago, and she was in education. She was looking at different areas to come to work. They came also to talk to different teachers. The teacher said, do not come here. She didn't go to Birmingham or your mountain. She was a very young, energetic teacher that I would love to be a first grade teacher, but she chose not to be here. That's the mentality of our teachers here. We got to change that. I think I can do that. I'd also like to see more businesses working with our kids. If we expect everybody to go to college, that's an early expectation. But we do want people to have a high graduation rate. My understanding right now, Huntsville City Schools is the third in graduation in Holland. That's the city and that's the county. We need to improve that. It's imperative that our kids get college, high school diplomas to move forward, even in the military jobs, careers.
Ms. Bowden?
I'm running because I want to represent students. As the youngest person running for the school board, I'm the one that's closest to the age of what it felt like to be a student. No offense to my more experienced counterparts, but I think it's important that we remember what it's like to be a child in school, what it's like to get an education and why you got it in the first place. I'm connected with the business community. I understand what we're preparing children for and what we're preparing them for their futures. I understand that how it felt and why expectations were needed. I feel like I am that child we're trying to head on the right direction. And I know what it takes to get us there. I know it from a policy perspective, and I know it from a community perspective. And I have to emphasize that I am District 4. Talking about West Huntsville is a talking point for me. That's the community I live in. That's where I am invested. That's where a lot of the changes that are coming will happen. And it's more than just something you say or state. It's where I live. That's my family. I may be single, I may be unwedded, I may not have children, but my family is my community. And if it takes me to get out here to step out and support and lead, communicate and be there for my community, and by George, that's what I want to do. I hope that you learned a lot about me. I hope that you take the time to visit my website and read more about me. But if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me after this forum or visit my website. And I hope you vote for me on August 26th. Thank you very much.
Mr. McGinnis?
I think I'm the candidate for District 4. I've been in District 4 and associated with District 4 all my life. I care about that place. I care about the housing situation. I care about the schools. I care about everything in District 4. Why do I think I'm the ideal candidate for it? I think I'm the right person because I walk the walk, I dance the dance inside schools. I know how they should operate. I know what the expectations are. I have good relationships with the people I need to have when I enter that office to get things done. All this hype that we hear during this time of year that I'm going to work on collaboration, I'm going to do all that. It's time to act. We've had plenty of time to talk. It's time to put things in action. And I'm an action type person. I don't like sitting around talking and rehashing just to hear myself talk. We need to move forward. I think I'm the right person at the right time, for the right job, at the right place. Thank you.
Our final response for the evening is the individual with whom we started tonight, Mr. PTA.
Again, I think the end goal of education is creative, curious, successful, well-rounded students who can function in life. And I think the key to that again is our teachers. And I think we need to make sure that we treat our teachers with the dignity and respect that we expect that they show to our students. And I think we need to do a little bit of communication work to rebuild some of the trust in our school system. And so I hope that that's one of the things that I can achieve. I think as far as a practicing architect, I think that embodies a lot of what is needed on the school board to be able to achieve some of the goals that we're trying to achieve. I think that as an architect, we're always creating a vision and working towards that vision. When we design a project, we are collaborating and building a team of engineers that all contribute in working towards that goal. And we don't jump into the projects until we fully work out all the details. And so I hope you will consider me for school board district 2.
Candidates, on behalf of our panel, Liz Hurley from WAFF 48, Calvin Stevens from AL.com and Huntsville Times, we want to thank you for your time and thank you for thoughtfully answering these questions.
I know we've gone over by 7 minutes, but I think we've gained a lot of valuable information tonight. So is anybody upset about that? I didn't think so. I want to thank you for coming out to our forum, for your cooperation tonight. I hope the information received will assist you in making an informed decision. In closing, I'd like to stress that a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. I'd like to wish success to all of the candidates. I also want to remind everyone that school board elections will be held on August 26th. They all have tables that are set up in the foyer. If you'd like to talk with them personally after this forum, we encourage you to do so. God bless, good night, and safe travel home.